everyone who is a student or a working person who is studying, or is someone who is going through a very difficult time right now. I just wanted to share with you guys a story about the hardest year of my life and how mental fortitude changed everything. So when I was at Witsie University, I studied to become a chartered accountant, and it is still by far one of the hardest things that I've ever done in my entire life. And I never want to take for granted just how much mental strength was required for this degree. But I do want to share with you the most important principles that I learned from that and how it can help you to get past any situation that you're dealing with right now. So if you're not aware of the accounting syllabus, it's basically 5 exams that I needed to pass in total for the final year, for my honors year. So I basically needed to pass financial accounting, tax, management accounting, auditing, and finance, I think. Yeah, but those 5 subjects basically. And right from the bat, I just want to say that in my final year, I was failing. Like from the first test, okay, I was failing. My June exam, which probably counted about, I want to say it weighed about 30 to 40% at the time, maybe even 50%. I can't remember. I got 29% for my financial accounting exam. The others were all in the 30s. So basically I was failing and failing really badly. I remember when the lecturer walked in and said, guys, I hate to tell you this, but if you're getting less than 33%, you basically have no chance of passing this year, because you would basically need about like 70% in your final year in order for you to pass. And, you know, given all of the challenges that are against you, we would advise you that you save some money and you deregister. The problem was for me, number one, I just never even thought, like, what does deregistering even mean? It never seemed to be something that, to be very honest with you, applied in my mind. I always just felt like, but I work hard, academics are my thing. So what do you mean that I have to deregister? This is the one thing that I know I'm good at, is academics. And yet now I'm being told that I have to deregister. So that was very difficult for me to accept. And I think the second thing that was very difficult was that my parents just would not understand. Like, for them, it's like, but like, you don't have any difficulties. You don't even have any chores. So why are you failing? And then the third thing was that I had a bursa at the time, and just having to explain that to them, yeah, that actually just pushed me into mentally one of the worst states of my life. I remember being in my bed all the time, unable to just eat, unable to sleep, unable to do anything really. And I was just hoping that this problem would go away. And naturally, it's not going to go away until you face it head on. So I missed the deadline to deregister. So there was that. And one day, my boyfriend at the time knocked on my door and he was like, no, bro, like, you can't just sleep here and like never fix this problem. Like, you have to go to lectures at least, because now you're paying for it anyway and you have to finish this year. I'm so grateful that I actually went to that lecture that day. So I went to a tax lecture, and at the time there was a student lecturer who kind of understood where we were. You know, we were just all feeling so defeated. Majority of those students are failing. Granted, they were not failing at the level that I was. Like, if there were 300 students, I was probably student number 299 in terms of marks. I don't know if there's anyone who was doing worse than me at the time, actually, to be honest. And he said, you know what, guys, do not fail because, you know, you didn't know the work, you know. Oh no, sorry. Do not fail because of your attitude towards the thing. Like, fail because you genuinely didn't know the work. Because the failing because you genuinely didn't know the work and whatever, these are things that, like, exams are not in your control. You don't know what coursework is going to be examined properly. Like, you can study the coursework, but you don't know what specific topics are going to be put in. But with your approach, with your attitude, that is something that you have 100% control over. You have 100% control over how you're approaching studying, how you're approaching working in a group, how you're approaching going to consultations, etc. That you have control over. And I think for me, that was just the mental switch that I needed. Granted, I did fail the September tests too, so I was failing. But my mindset, it was so different, because all of a sudden this just became a mental game more than it was me trying to understand the work. It was more about, what did I believe that I could do, and letting go of the things that I had no control over anymore. And you know, as a student, I wasn't maybe aware, I didn't have the language for all of these things, but I knew it was just happening anyway. And I tell you guys, like, I was now finding myself in groups and like contributing on the one subject I thought I kind of knew, which was auditing. I was sitting at like 41% for auditing, something ridiculous like that. But I thought, you know, that's something I could contribute to that group. And they had their own strengths and they were helping me to get through the coursework, because there's just so much work. If you're studying anything that is voluminous like accounting, it is a lot of work. You need the support of other team members to help you with this. And then I think the other thing that really helped me tremendously, like I cannot thank the system as much, like it's just so crazy, is the consulting. I don't understand why I never consulted. Like, it's so ridiculous. Like, get into the habit of consulting if you are a student. I'm talking to you now. But consulting really helped me to focus on the work that I needed to focus on and let go of the stuff that just was not going to serve me in the exam. And I needed someone to help guide me in that way. And lecturers, I mean, they've been doing this year in, year out, year in, year out. They've been speaking to students like me year in and year out. So, you know, I just needed someone with a positive attitude. And that was really a big game changer for me. I think the third thing that really helped me is just making sure that I had a routine. So I worked out for only 20 minutes, nothing crazy like that. I literally just walked on a treadmill sometimes or walked around campus, and that was enough for me. And I slept for 8 hours. Sometimes it would be 6 hours, but I tried to make sure that I had a good sleeping routine. I didn't work at night, so I worked in the early hours of the morning. So I'd wake up around 5 a.m. and like study, then like maybe work out for a bit and then go back and study again. Having that routine really helped, because the brain also needs a break from studying. Like, you cannot absorb everything and, you know, like, and try and think that you're going to pass. Like, it's not possible. Like, the brain needs help. And then the fourth thing, strategy. I had a good strategy. So the situation was that, technically speaking, your average was like sitting at 30-something%, right? Amongst all five modules. So I was like, okay, how am I going to approach the situation? And what I did was I was like, okay, what is the requirement at the end of the year? At the time, I don't know if it's changed at Wits University, but the requirement at the end of the year was that I needed to pass all 5 modules. You were given the opportunity to write you were given the opportunity to have a maximum of 2 subs, right? So I was like, okay, looking at the mark I had for accounting, which is 29%, knowing that I needed 70-something% to pass accounting, it would require all of my time and energy just to get the 70%. But the problem is now that I am going to fail all of the other subjects because I'm putting all of my time and effort into passing this accounting subject. So I just had to accept that I'm gonna not make it in accounting for my final year. I just knew, like, my final exam, I'm not gonna make it for accounting. And that's okay. Like, it's just okay. I just had to accept that reality. And then I started to focus on my strengths. And you know what helps when you focus on your strengths is that, like, you get the confidence to keep going. And even now and again, I would touch accounting and I feel more confident because I'm like, okay, I can do this, whatever, because these subjects tend to bleed into each other. And I did that. That's what I did. I just focused on like tax and auditing and all of the ones like management, accounting, and finance. The ones that I knew, okay, I can focus on these because I think I can do it. I think I can do it. And I kept doing it and kept doing it. Gave me the confidence, and I passed. I passed 4 of the 5. And then, you know, because it's, like I said, they had the requirement that you could go into writing a sub for 1. And that's what I did. I wrote the sub for accounting. And the nice thing about that is then I had all the time in the world to just focus on accounting and consult, being in groups and teams and whatever. Just focus on accounting and accounting alone. And I passed. I got 50, 50, 50, 51. And does it matter? No, because when you see my name, you see Khanya CASA, you don't see the mark that I got, right? It doesn't matter. And it doesn't matter. Let me tell you something. It doesn't matter because I knew the work. The problem was that mentally I was struggling and I just needed to get out of that. And when I got out of it, I was able to push through, right? And also, I'm a far more valuable CA because I went through that. I know what it's like to feel like everything is stacked up against you and there's no way of getting out, and focusing on what you can control. And I think that's made me a brilliant consultant. It made me a brilliant auditor, because I was always just focusing on the things that we had control over and letting go of the things that we don't have control over. And that has been even my approach when it comes to fitness. And what I keep telling everyone else is like, forget about your genetics, because those are things you have no control over. But the things you have control over is waking up and actually just working out. That you have control over. And it is that experience has molded me and shaped me to be the person that I am today. And I'm sure it sometimes comes through on screen that I'm just not a person who just gives up for the sake of giving up things. It's like, no, there isn't time and place to give up on things, but there are some times where you just cannot do that. You cannot give up on yourself. And that was the thing. I was like, I could not give up on me. And even if I failed, I was going to be okay with failing. I was going to be okay with failing because I knew the reality of things. This is why, like I said, I accepted the fact that I was going to fail accounting at the final year, at the final exams. I knew that. I accept the reality of what is happening, right? But I also accept the possibility and the potential of pushing through. And for me, I was going to be okay with accepting the failure, because I don't really believe there's failure, but accepting the failure of what was, because I gave it so much. I gave that year everything that I could. So if I failed, I would have felt better with that because I knew I gave it everything, versus me just going, oh, well, it was never meant for me, whatever. And that kind of attitude, it would have haunted me for the rest of my life. I'm glad I pushed through. I showed up for myself. And that's what I'm trying to tell you. Show up for yourself mentally first before anything else. Show up for yourself mentally first. And the final thing that I want to leave you with is forget about everything that is not going to matter a year from now. Forget about it. If you're fighting with your mans, if your family is pissing you off right now, if it's not going to matter a year from now, get it out of your system. It's not important. Right now is the moment where you have to be extremely selfish, especially if you're a student. You have to be extremely selfish because this has a huge, it adds a huge trajectory to your life. Like, if I think about it now, if I failed that year, that means that I would have only maybe be qualified to go to KPMG the following year. That means that I would not have gotten my visa because that was the final, like if I had not passed the year that I had passed, I would not have been able to make it to the company that I'm working for now. And at the time that I was trying to apply for that company and work in the United States, that was the final year that they were going to do permanent work visas for us. So I needed to pass at that time, even though I didn't know. That needed to happen, right? So that's what I'm saying. Just keep showing up for yourself. Keep pushing when it seems like it's impossible. Because not only are you getting what you want in the end, even if it's not in the shape that you thought you wanted it in, but more importantly, you are learning something about yourself, because whatever you are challenged with, it is trying to teach you something about yourself. It's forcing you to go inward to find that inner strength. And with that, challenges, you're going to look back. Like now, I sometimes look back and to me, it just seemed like, but at the time when you're going through it, when you're going through it is rough. But I just wanted to send this out to you guys. I know it's long, but I think it's very important, especially for my students, especially for people who are going through studying and working, because it's very, very hard because you have that extra thing on top of you. But just to know that this pandemic, this lockdown, it must never make you feel like you are incapable of achieving the things that you need to achieve. And it's okay if you don't make it. Like I said, it's really okay. Like, there were things afterwards that I didn't make it in. It was okay. Like, it's fine. I'm okay with that because I know when I have given something everything and I know when I have not. And this is a moment where I'm trying to just show you that you need to ask yourself, have I really focused on the things I had control over, and have I given them everything that I could? And if you have, then you can fail, because I don't believe in failure, fail in peace, because then you are even able to look at the failure and see, okay, what are they trying to teach me about myself and what information am I getting? Because failure is just a moment of information and it's trying to redirect you into something else. So to everyone who is going through this tough time, like I said, just keep strong. You can do it. Just keep going. You are far more powerful than you realize. And I love you, every single one of you guys. I really love you. You guys keep me going, and all the best for your exams, guys. I love you. Bye.